Yeah, so I don't know if you saw the first Meg, right, back in 2018, but I mean, the only reason why everybody went to see it was because of Jason Statham, right? Because for me
Right.
personally, I don't go out of my way and seek out creature features like this, especially like, killer animals and whatnot, unless you get like a
Quick,
ton of
quick
praise and
question.
whatnot, right?
Kirsten Stewart is in the first one. I vaguely remember the first one.
No, no, because she had better things to do.
Who was in the first one?
Who was in the first Meg by outside of Jesus Statham?
You sure?
Ruby Rose was in it.
Oh, Ruby Rose was in it. Okay, no
Rain
problem.
Wilson. Rain Wilson was in this. The fuck? Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, let me check.
I have not seen the first Meg
Right, so
in.
yeah, I'm confusing Kirsten Stewart with Ruby Rose. I think I mix it up. All right, no
Okay,
problem.
okay, yeah. I literally have not seen that film since it came out in 2018, right? But
Right.
yeah, point.
Yeah, Cliff Curtis was in it. All
Yeah,
right, see.
and Cliff Curtis actually shows up in this film, right? He reprises
Right.
his role, right? So yeah, point is, I saw it. I was like, all right, that's it, okay, whatever, and I just moved on with my life, right? It's a paycheck movie for Jason, I guess, whatever. But hey, here we are 5 years later with the trench, right? And I'll just give like just cliff notes as to what it's about, right? So, Jason's character, right? Jonas Taylor, right? So he basically is like this one man crusader against like environmental crimes and whatnot, right? So like in the opening sequence with him, he's on this large like boat, you know what I mean, ship, sorry, stopping these guys from dumping like nuclear waste into like the ocean and whatnot, and like, but he do it like a real transporter, or sorry, not transporter, more like mechanic style, but a PG-13 version of that, right? But in the
Yeah.
meantime, he's still helping out these undersea researchers, right? I believe it's the same people from the first film, right? So they are well still doing research in the same trench where the first megalodon from the first film was there, right? And apparently there's more that show up. But in this case now, while we introduce a few new characters, again, I haven't seen the first film, so I don't really remember anybody else other than Jason Statham. Yeah, so they have a megalodon in captive. Well, it was well basically they captured it earlier on in its life and it grew and whatnot, right? But for reasons it actually escaped because we learn later on that it have some alpha male that is I assume is meeting season or something like that. But because he's present, all the others are there, whatever. So while all this is going on now, Jonas and the team now, like, still doing research and whatnot, right? So they discover like these mercenaries, right, who basically are using this. Oh gosh, well, basically is the uncle of this guy who passed away in the first film, right? He's played by Wu Jing, right? And basically is
Right.
his money, is his technology that pretty much fueling this whole research thing, right? So yeah, apparently, well, surprise, surprise, his technology is being used basically to do some illegal mining, right? And the person who is actually behind the scenes, I guess I'll spoil it here right now because this movie came out 3 weeks ago. I'm sorry, is the person who was kind of like representing them, like well, okay, so the guy himself, he's Chinese, of course, right? So this person here, I believe, is like American or British representative, or whatever it is, some rich billionaire woman or whatever it was, right? But yeah, apparently she's the one behind the scenes and blah blah blah, right? So point is, while so upon discovering this plan and whatnot, now they try to stop them, but in the process, their ship, well, or I should say their sub, is sabotaged, right? So they're pretty much like trapped in this trench. And as you would expect, you know what I mean, these megs are hungry and they want to feed on some human flesh. So they have to get from there to this particular platform where they could actually get help, right? But that's where the mercenaries are. And all this is eventually going to lead, just to jump into the review here one time, into what everybody was expecting with the movie, but it unfortunately comes in the third act, like in the last, like, say, half hour, 20 minutes, which is, yeah, meg carnage and people, at some beach resort or whatever, getting killed. And Jesus Statham doing insane shit. 'Cause that's what people pay to see. But the
Right.
problem is, jumping into the review here one time, is that you literally had to wait about a full hour or so. I just watching this stuff involving mercenaries and illegal mining and all that kind of stuff. I just there watching the time like, yo, where's the shit
Right.
that the trailer promised me? Where's that, right? So yeah, if you have not seen the trailer, please don't. But yeah, for us who actually saw that first trailer though, it is very misleading. It pretty much gives you all the great scenes in the movie, in my opinion, or at least the stuff that really matters. Is the sequel problem, not sequelitis per se, but is the sequel problem, or at least the assumption of what a sequel should be, right? You know, with a sequel, it must be deeper and darker, right? So it's literally deeper, ha ha ha, right? But it didn't need to be this dark, though. You know what I mean? I'm not just talking about the cinematography and how dark it looked in those on those subterranean scenes, right? But just like tonally, it just felt so inconsistent. Like you want to give them a summer movie, but it almost feels like it's a mashup of two movies, right? So you want to give them this action thriller with Jason Statham on in this trench, having to stop these mercenaries and trying to escape. You know what I mean? But in shark infested water, you want to give them that, and that itself could have been one movie, right? But at the same time, you want to give them a goofy sci-fi movie of the month stuff with killer prehistoric sharks, chomping down on humans, and then Jason having to be all like Fast and Furious and do insane stunts and insane shit. And it's supposed to be so dumb, so bad it's good entertainment, right? But I'm sorry, with this movie as a whole, this was so bad it's bad, right? Because it just merely didn't even know what it wanted to be. It wants to take
Yeah.
itself seriously, right? But at the same time, it's like people that pay money to see serious shit. Like not with a movie with Jesus Statham and a gigantic shark. That's not what we pay money to see, right? I understand that you want to give us reasons to care about the characters, but unfortunately, the characters are so one note and so one dimensional. I just can care about anybody, even when they being targeted by the sharks themselves. I just couldn't care. You know what I mean? The mercenaries I felt were pointless in this movie. The reveal of who was behind the scene was dumb. You know what I mean? It just slowed the movie down, right? But there's a few more things before I get to it, right? So when the movie for me slapped me in the face, right? So when they actually get to the final, when you get to the third act of the show, right, and we get everything that we expect, right? So there's a difference between give him a dumb fun and give him a dumb shit dread. On paper, it's dumb fun. I'm supposed to have fun seeing all these insane stuff with gigantic sharks, jumping into
Right.
the air and, Jason Statham on a jet ski, what I mean, with, like a spear and all that kind of stuff. All that stuff is dumb fun, eh? But what the show does, boy, is give me a dumb shit, dread,
Right.
because, spoilers again, again, don't watch this trailer. So I actually don't mind the fact, right, that they actually it open the movie itself with the same way how they opened the trailer, the first trailer, with the prehistoric stuff, 65 million years ago, blah blah, which I kind of still think was a slight jab towards the movie
Right.
65, right? Yeah, so it starts off on this island, and you're seeing like these
Right.
prehistoric lizards, right? And then it leads dinosaurs basically, and then it just leads to this T-Rex getting killed, and then T-Rex, and then eventually a Meg come and kill the T-Rex, right? That's how the movie opens, right? By this they're thinking, oh, that's just the intro of the film and we're gonna move past it, right? So they actually, the big set piece of the movie, in the third act, actually takes place on that island, right? So here's the kicker: same the same dinosaurs themselves, the same kind of lizards themselves, the small ones, right, actually survive and living on this island, right? And the show never explained that. We just jump to the island. The threat is Megs are coming. So people, on the beach and they get an attack, right? People on this cruise, they get attacked. Okay, I understand all that, right? You're on the cruise, they get attacked. You're on the beach, they get attacked, right? But further up the island itself, I seen that the same lizards from before, the same prehistoric lizards from before, alive, and they never explain that shit. Could I do something simple and say, oh well, it's like Komodo dragons or whatever? It's like, nope, it's gonna be those, right? Whatever, right? And to make matters even worse, you even have a moment
Right. No.
in the big climax, the big action scene and whatnot, where they even have a gigantic octopus. And I think it was brought up in the no, it wasn't even brought up in the intro. It just show up just
Right.
out of the blue. So the point is, just that I don't want to ramble on too much about it, is that they want to say that okay, the Megs are the only prehistoric creatures that are alive. You have this kraken like octopus and you have these lizards, right? but they never
Right.
explain that shit. And that kind of takes away from the logic, and I have to put this in quotes, of the movie itself. Because we come in to see sharks, right? Now you tell them it have prehistoric lizards and prehistoric this and that. Like it takes you out of the film now, because it just basically feels like they're just throwing everything at you, and you're supposed to buy into it because it's a dumb fun movie. That's the allure of it. It's dumb fun. Shut up, drink your soft drink, shovel popcorn in your mouth, and just watch insanity ensue. Like I'm sorry, like not even Fast X could I get away with shit like that. Like even they and all have a working logic of, okay, this is what we could get away with, but if we drop something out of the
Right.
blue that have no relation to what's going on, and make up, and we don't even have time to explain why. No, like you insult the audience right there, and I actually felt insulted by it. You know what I mean? It's just throwing a set of flashy visual effects, but it adds nothing to the story, right? So in
Okay.
closing, yeah, Meg 2 was trash. I'm sorry. I am so glad I did not see this in theaters. I'm actually really, really glad that they put this out on home media. I glad I stayed home and eat popcorn and drank a soft drink and watched that day, and then afterwards say, yeah, that movie was trash, right? Um, it was dull. It was uninteresting. It was just dumb, but not in a fun way at all. And yes, you will genuinely like moments in the third act, right? But that's the third act. You have to wait so long and drudge through, sorry, a bunch of like nonsense that makes no sense, right? Nonsense basically, just to get to that point. And then at that point, now when the third act even kicks in, yeah, they want to make matters even worse by throwing a bunch of shit that adds nothing to what people pay to see in the first place, or at least take time out their busy schedule to watch in the first place. So yeah, they should have just stopped with the first film. Nobody asked for the sequel, but here we are. So reason wise, I'm going to give this a strong two to like 2.5 out of 5. Right? I want my money back. Yes, I watch it home. I want my money back. Right? But I will say, if you still want to see it, if you still feel you need to see it, yeah, watch it in your house. This is absolutely not worth seeing in theaters at all, man. This is a huge misfire in my opinion. Just a sequel where they really try to do a lot, but ultimately really do anything at all. They should have just stayed focused and give us a much shorter film. Because sorry, believe it or not, this movie is like an hour and 55 minutes, and they could have just shave off a whole half hour of it. And that half hour is basically in that first hour of the film itself, where we just waiting for Meg stuff to happen. And there's hardly any Meg stuff that really happens prior to that third act in the first place. So again, you just cheat the audience, give them a trailer that, people come in expecting some goofy shit, and you had to wait like what, an hour and like what, 20 minutes for the goofy shit. Come on, man, you could do much better than that, right? So yeah, massive, misfire here. Don't even bother with this unless you just genuinely have nothing else better to do and you actually enjoy the first movie. I would say, yeah, watch it. But other than that, yeah, I don't know. It's just stick to Jaws or some shit like that. Don't even waste your time with this. So, with that being said, now, we have two
See.
films that we're going to close things off with, right? Both of which I wanted to see, but because of time, I did not get around to see. First one being the Last Voyage of the Demeter. I was hearing things about it, but I was like, but like for me, I really wanted to see it. 'Cause I thought, like, 'cause I haven't seen, actually, I've not seen a lot of horror films this year, but I thought that this was one that I will actually enjoy and actually remember by year's end. But I was hearing things about it too, which had me kind of like reserved, right? And then again, it is based off of a little section of, the Dracula story from Bram Stoker. So it's like, all right, how are you going to make a full length movie out of this? It's possible, but it's like, how do I don't know. But yeah, Ricardo, take it away. Last Voyage of the Demeter. What was it about?
Yeah, so this was a nice little fun thing where it's basically the events of when Dracula was on the boat and no one made it off that boat. So in the novel, it's that. It's just telling that story, but putting it in debate, in details of that whole story. And that's basically what it is. It's just aliens on a boat, alien on a boat, and it's pretty good. It's actually quite awesome. Uh, I went into this with low expectations. I was like, yeah, I kind of hyped because Corey Hawkins. Alright, cool. I want to see it for him. But what they do with it is it's played very seriously and straight. Didn't I don't think it made like any kind of serious humor or anything like that. It's very dark, very meaty with the violence, and they have a lot of great little subplot involving our character who, well, I don't want to say what happens to her, but it's actually pretty interesting. Especially the last sequence or two. The friendship he makes with Corey Hawkins' character. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just them on the boat. They basically frame it. I think this is one of those movies that you should have probably walk in as blind as possible for it to work. Because if you know what it's about and you know the name, then it kind of sells out what's going on. But if you're going as blind as possible and you don't know what it's about, it's actually pretty awesome if it's from that particular framing, for what it is. So yeah, it does this conceit of basically, well, Dracula is being transported from Transylvania to London, and or Thames, I forget where he's going, but basically he goes to England, and basically how they frame it is that he escaped and nobody
Hmm.
worried to check with all the weird Dracula stuff on the coffins, and he comes out and he basically murders everybody and destroys the boat. That is the story. That's pretty much it. But they make it's a great horror stuff, really violent, great atmosphere. Corey Hawkins holds the show as a leader, as a lead of the show. That's really good. And then they end it on a kinda ish cliffhanger. The director is the guy who did a movie I did review on here. Autopsy of Jane Doe. I think he did that, which was actually pretty awesome. He did Troll Hunter as well. So yeah, the guy he's one of these directors who's the solid stuff overall. And the way how the show ends, it ends where it kind of a cliffhanger, kind of something implying it might have a sequel. Not sure, but it kind of frames it like a kind of Jack the Ripper kind of scenario might be going on with Dracula. Like that kind of interesting, maybe. At least I saw how it framed to be, in terms of like the final
Hmm.
shot of the movie. But yeah, Corey Hawkins kind of gonna become a Val Helsing type vampire hunter, possibly. Not sure. But I just had fun with this. Like it not worth super worth talking about in terms of just it came and went. I'm glad Universal put it out in theaters, but I could imagine people like just enjoying it in a stream. That's what it's designed for. It's more streaming kind of thing. Yeah, solid outing. But the main downfall of it is that it didn't need to be as long as it was. That's the only like thing that holds it back. Remember, I think it's season 2 or season 3 of um Love, Death and Robots. The beginning, I think the first episode where they was on a boat having to deal with a monster. It's pretty much that story, same idea where we're not sure what the cargo is, and there's some weird shenanigans going on in the galley, and so on so. And yeah, that's about it. It's just they make it work for what it is. Smart, you know, funny, trying to be funny for what it is, but it still not really coming together. That's about it for me. Yeah, rating 6 out of 10, not bad.
But yeah, Ricardo, take it away. Yeah, what's Gran Turismo about?
So let me just get the bad out of the way first. This is some very blatant vertical integration by Sony. Very blatant product placement
Oh
stuff
God, they do
designed to be a
that.
product.
Hmm.
Product. They constantly calling it out and referencing the product. They constantly, basically they jerking themselves off of how great Gran Turismo is and so on and so forth. And it does it unfortunately also this again get the bad out of the way first. Uh, it unfortunately it has the derivative problem of typical video game stuff where it's when you do a video game, it have to take video games tend to take a lot from film, and then now when it's time to make a film out of that video game, it basically just a copy of a copy, kind of snake eating its own tail problem with respect to the material. It just derivative of films in a derivative way. So it's two levels of derivation down there, right? You're d squaring it, right? And that is end up showing in terms of quality or execution. With that said, I thought it was kind of awesome. I kind of really like this. I didn't expect to enjoy this as well. So yeah, how it's framed itself, it's the Wizard meets Ford v Ferrari, right? That's how I kind of think about it when I went into it. Right, yeah. In more ways than one in terms of like just being a product because it was straight up a Nintendo product as a movie, right? But we end up getting a little bit of cool run-ins and rush with this. Um, and I just thoroughly enjoyed this for what it was. It was not bad at all. I had very few issues with the storytelling. It tells a solid arc. It's based off a true story mostly. So and we're putting base in quotes, right? But it's just this guy and his narrative. They put it together. The reason why it works a lot is because of David Harbour. He's really good in this. He actually kind of holds it. And then Blomkamp's choices in terms of shots and the whole gamification of the world and why they make it work in terms of, well, here this character being the ascended fanboy. right? Of racing. Like he's a racer, he loves racing. He can't get into racing, but he loves Gran Turismo. He spent a bunch of money, buying a in that in-game steering wheel stuff for the video game. Um, and it's just that they have him barely make it through and struggle through doing racing, and then have him actually become a great racer in reality. And it is very derivative. You could predict the beats beat for beat, you know, really predictable. You see it before, but it's executed really well, and it has a surprising amount of heart, and it comes together quite well in terms of like what it decide to do. So when you watch a certain scene, you'll know, okay, that's straight off from Rush. And when you watch this other
Mm.
scene, it's like, yeah, that feel like cool runnings. And again, Ford v Ferrari, and it is all the other race. You see every other race in movies, even a little bit. If you remember this documentary, Senna, is a little bit of that as well. And but it really leans into the, for lack of a better term, the kind of the evolution of car culture and why that works. Like it has its own chapter in car culture, like how what the Fast and Furious did for street racing, this does for the video game era of car culture and the whole virtual reality
Mm.
simularac similar. Oh god, I can't pronounce this word for some reason. Simulacrum uh of racing, and how racing is work like that, and they make it work for what it is. It just, the characters had good chemistry. Again, David Harbour is very good in this. Oh god, that boy from Lord of the Rings, Orlando Bloom, right? He have a little, yeah. He kind of kicks off everything because he kind of little the skeevy agent type. He's the producer manager type who kind of a little scummy in your own way, and that's something involving in the middle of the story he wanted to do that was kind of scummy. But again, for ratings, that bullshitting, you'll see it when you see it. But they make it work.
Right.
It's very a surprising amount of heart. The person who actually bring the surprising most amount of heart to it was Jaiman Hansu, who plays the main character's dad, and what they do with him. And where they go with that, because something, a tragedy happens again. It's a scene that feels straight out of Rush, but it's a scene that happens. Apparently, it was a real. I don't know if this actually happened. I did no research to check. But it's a scene that was like the all is lost moment for the main character, and they have this scene with Jaiman Hansu coming back in the end to sort out a lot of that. And they have a couple of those touching moments, but it comes together really well in terms of the actual racing, the context of the story, because of the racing and his skill in the racing, that matters, and it is the more important information that helps him in the video, in the real world, and so on and so forth. And they really really do a good job of selling that narrative of how to improve your life. And again, it's Sony jerking off themselves, telling you how great Gran Turismo is. And the actual creator of Gran Turismo comes in, he the story. And actually, from the show in the film itself, the guy who was the original uh driver, the real guy who he plays, is a stuntman of himself in the story. So he's playing his own stuntman. It's pretty awesome. They reveal that at the end because they show, there's usual shit where they show the real person could, and parallel them to the actor and what they look like in the movie versus, yeah, for a real photo. They do that shit all the time. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It comes together. It comes together really well. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I didn't expect this guy. And also, last point, is it just me, or is this, or did Puffy get a serious bag this summer? Am I the only one? Puffy got real bag this summer because he hate me now. I was playing real plenty. That was the trailer, and it was in the movie. And but yeah, it comes together. It's he the character. But what makes it work is that the main character, he's very human. He's very grounded. They do a whole thing with he and his girlfriend in Japan. That's great. Um, they play it. And they really do the ascended fanboy aspect of the storyline. It played very realistically. Jaimon Hanso and him bounce off each other really well. Um, and yeah, I didn't expect to. I went in with very low expectations because, like, yeah, gaming of a movie. But and then I saw the score on Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm thinking, wait, but that's gonna be shit. And then I went in and we're like, no, it's good. Mostly because Neil Blomkamp really made a lot of great calls and with the shots and the action and the racing. Even though the racing felt a little repetitive, and again we see it before. Like they have a final sequence involving Le Mans or Le Mans. If you know what that is, you're just like, yeah, okay, we know how they're gonna play that out. And they play the drama with that really well. But because of Blomkamp making a lot of great calls and shots, again, I can't put this as good as Ford v Ferrari, right? Not as great as that, but still pretty good. Blomkamp just really comes with good talent for this, I think. And then David Harbour. David Harbour is great in this. Like he really, really pulls things together with his narrative and what they do with him and why he had a whole, again, a sad backstory. That's Cool Runnings part. That's straight up from Cool Runnings in my humble opinion. Whatever. But it's a typical kind of cliche stereotype. It's a bunch of stereotypes. It's stereotype gumbo, but it's good stereotype gumbo. Racing stereotype gumbo. That's what it is. 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I actually really enjoyed it. Mostly because just everything was reasonably well executed, in my humble opinion. It's solid. I had a ton of fun with this. For me. So yeah, that's about it.